In the shadows of the neon skyline, the true rebels of cyberpunk were never the blockbusters. They were the forgotten tapes, the cult OVAs, the experimental flames that burned out too fast. Welcome to a world of steel and sorrow, of pixelated memory and analog rage. Here are 10 underrated cyberpunk anime from the 80s and early 90s that deserve resurrection. Number 10. Goku Midnight Eye, 1989. Imagine a grimy city drenched in rain where neon flickers like broken dreams and a lone detective walks the fine line between man and machine. That is the world of Goku Midnight Eye. Goku is no ordinary investigator. After a failed assassination attempt, he awakens with a cybernetic eye that can control every computer system in the world. But this power comes at a cost. His life becomes a war zone filled with robotic monstrosities, psychic killers, and grotesque experiments. He dives into Tokyo's criminal underworld, guided only by instincts and the cold logic of the machines inside him. The anime is short but unforgettable. Directed by Yoshiaki Kawajiri, known for violent stylized classics like Ninja Scroll and Wicked City, this OVA captures the sleaze and glamour of late 80s anime at its peak. The animation is visceral, the settings ooze mood, and the villains are cartoonishly brutal. There is no moral compass here, just raw survival and mechanical vengeance. Often overlooked due to its short runtime, Goku Midnight Eye plays like a fever dream. It is the kind of cyberpunk that smells like oil blood and burning data. It is not elegant, it is not clean, but it is electric. A cult VHS gem that deserves to live again. Number 9. Armitage III, 1995. Armitage III may have arrived in the mid-90s, but its soul is pure late 80s cyberpunk. Set on a colonized Mars, it follows Naomi Armitage, a fiercely independent cop who is more than she appears. She is a third-generation android, the most advanced of her kind, designed to mimic humans in every possible way. But in a world ruled by fear and prejudice, the existence of androids capable of reproduction is a threat. When a series of murders targets these so-called illegal robots, Armitage finds herself both hunter and hunted. Her mission becomes personal as she confronts her own identity and the violent forces determined to erase her. What makes Armitage 3 haunting is its emotional depth. It explores the loneliness of being synthetic, the horror of being feared, and the resilience of a machine that dares to feel. Naomi's relationship with her human partner Ross builds slow and painful, revealing how fragile trust is when the line between artificial and organic breaks down. Visually, the anime is sleek, packed with bullet-riddled action and shadow-drenched cityscapes. Yet beneath the hardware is a story about belonging and rebellion. Armitage III does not scream. It aches, it bleeds, and in that quiet despair, it becomes one of the most overlooked cyberpunk tales ever told. Number 8. Cybernetic's Guardian, 1989. Cybernetic's Guardian is pure, unfiltered late 80s madness. It tells the story of John Stalker, a man raised in the filth and chaos of a dystopian ghetto known as Cancer City. Now, a respected scientist, John volunteers to test an experimental armored suit designed for riot suppression. But the suit reacts with his buried trauma and rage, triggering a horrifying transformation. He becomes a hulking cybernetic monster, driven by instincts he cannot control. What begins as a noble act spirals into carnage, urban warfare, mutant gangs, burning towers. John's psyche fractures as the machine consumes the man inside. This OVA is raw, even by the standards of the time. It is filled with violent imagery, twisted allegories, and a visual tone that never lets you feel safe. There is a brutality to how the story unfolds. The technology does not save anyone. It enslaves them. Critics dismissed it as incoherent. But for fans of grim dystopia and techno-body horror, Cybernetic's Guardian hits hard. It explores themes of dehumanization and repressed violence in a compact, chaotic form. Beneath the blood and circuitry is a grim warning. that the past never stays buried, and the future we build might eat us alive. It is flawed, it is disturbing, but it is pure cyberpunk. Number 7. Megazone 23, 1985. Before The Matrix, before Ghost in the Shell, before even Akira, there was Megazone 23. What began as a planned television series was turned into a 3-part OVA that still stuns today with its ambition and thematic weight. At first glance, it looks like a motorcycle adventure with a rebellious teen named Shogo, who stumbles upon a top-secret prototype bike. But as he peels back the layers of his reality, he uncovers something horrifying. His entire city, his entire life may not be real. The world around him could be a simulation controlled by an AI called Bahamut, and a pop idol named Eve may be the only one who knows the truth. Megazone 23 is a masterpiece of misinformation and manipulation. It asks what happens when freedom becomes just another programmed illusion. The animation in Part 1 is rich with color movement and rebellion, while later parts dive deeper into despair and authoritarian control. Its cultural critiques are wrapped in stylish visuals and catchy synth-pop anthems that still hit hard. Yet for all its innovation, Megazone 23 is rarely mentioned outside hardcore fans. Maybe because it fractured during production. Maybe because it dared to go too deep too soon. But its legacy is undeniable. It predicted virtual reality culture wars and even the internet's psychological toll before they ever became mainstream fears. This is not just a cult classic. It is the ghost in the cyberpunk machine. Number 6. Black Magic, M66, 1987. Before he created Ghost in the Shell, Masamune Shirow dipped into cybernetic terror with Black Magic M66. A short high-intensity OVA, it follows a military experiment gone wrong. A prototype combat android escapes during a transport crash and locks onto a single target, a teenage girl. The twist, it will not stop until she is dead. A war machine with no conscience in a civilian world. Standing in its way is Cybele, a no-nonsense war journalist turned accidental bodyguard, trying to protect the girl from an unstoppable hunter. The brilliance of Black Magic M66 lies in its simplicity. The plot moves like a shark, never pausing, never over-explaining. But beneath the adrenaline rush are layered questions about military overreach and technology without ethics. The android is silent, faceless, and terrifying. Not a villain, but a function. It will not be reasoned with. And in that cold persistence, it becomes a metaphor for systems that cannot be stopped, only survived. The animation is detailed and kinetic, especially in its explosive finale set in a crumbling urban complex. Clocking in under an hour, it still delivers the tension of a full-length thriller. Often dismissed as a footnote to Shirow's later fame, this film deserves its own space in the pantheon. It is Terminator meets cyberpunk noir, a bullet of fear fired into the future. Number 5. Genocyber, 1994. Genocyber is not for the faint of heart. It is an anime that explodes with body horror, cybernetic monstrosities, and psychic violence from the very first frame. Loosely adapted from a manga, it tells the story of two psychic sisters fused into a living weapon capable of mass destruction. This creature, the Genocyber, is neither hero nor villain. It is pain incarnate, shaped by trauma and unleashed upon a crumbling society obsessed with weaponizing the human soul. Governments, corporations, and rebels all want control. But once the Genocyber awakens, control becomes irrelevant. What sets Genocyber apart is not just its shock value, but its refusal to follow traditional structure. Each episode shifts perspective, location, and even tone, diving deeper into horror as the world fractures. Cities fall, children burn, entire civilizations are wiped out in grotesque fury. And yet through the carnage, it dares to explore empathy, grief, and identity. The animation is both beautiful and repulsive, with some of the most extreme scenes in OVA history. Critics called it nihilistic. Fans called it unforgettable. Genocyber is cyberpunk at its ugliest and rawest, a violent meditation on how far science will go to erase the soul. It is not a comfortable watch, but that is the point. It is a scream, not a song. Number 4. Angel Cop, 1989. Angel Cop is a bullet in the face of subtlety. This ultra-violent, politically charged OVA unfolds in a near-future Japan where terrorism is rampant and justice is handed out at gunpoint. The story follows Angel, a government-sanctioned assassin who works for a special task force created to eliminate threats to the state. But as the mission escalates, Angel uncovers a brutal truth. The real enemies are not foreign extremists. They are her own government agents engaged in mind control, experimentation, and psychic warfare. The fight becomes personal, and Angel becomes a symbol of vengeance in a world drowning in lies. What makes Angel Cop unforgettable is its raw aggression. The animation is filled with exploding heads, metal limbs, and citywide destruction. The tone is angry cold and completely unfiltered. It mixes cybernetics with psychic powers, political conspiracies, and anti-capitalist rage. The voice acting in the original English dub is notoriously over-the-top, delivering lines like sledgehammers. Critics accused it of being jingoistic and unhinged, but others saw a pulpy masterpiece hiding under the blood. Angel Cop is not here to make you think. It is here to punch your brain through the back of your skull. It represents the darkest edge of 80s cyberpunk, where lawlessness collides with state terror, and the result is radioactive chaos. Forgotten by some, censored by others, Angel Cop is a banned tape worth tracking down. Number 3. 80's Police Files, 1990. Before the world met the armored heroines of Bubblegum Crisis, there was a darker seed buried beneath the chrome. 80's Police Files is a prequel OVA series set in the same dystopian Megatokyo. It follows a gritty police unit tasked with stopping rogue boomers, cybernetic androids gone berserk. But unlike its parent series, this one strips away the glamour and leaves only the scars. The main character, Leon McNichol, is not a hero. He is a man burning with frustration, caught between machine killers, corporate secrets, and the fragility of human life in a decaying city. 80's Police Files dives deep into psychological trauma and existential dread. Each episode is a self-contained tragedy. There is a cyborg woman whose love overrides her programming, a cop who becomes what he hunts, and an aging officer haunted by the memories of lives he failed to save. The animation is bleak, filled with shadows, flickering monitors, and endless city ruins. Violence erupts without warning. The music hums with paranoia. Unlike other cyberpunk stories, this one does not offer revolution or hope. It offers reflection and decay. For fans of Blade Runner-style themes, 80's Police Files is an underrated gem. It shows the slow breakdown of a society that lets machines replace meaning. This is not just sci-fi, it is post-trauma realism. Number 2. Bubblegum Crisis, 1987. Bubblegum Crisis may be known to anime veterans, but it remains criminally underrated outside that circle. Set in the futuristic Megatokyo after a corporate-engineered disaster, it centers on the Night Sabers, a quartet of female vigilantes in powered suits battling rogue androids known as boomers. The premise is part superhero, part street-level cyberpunk. But what sets it apart is the fusion of style, action, and music. Each episode feels like a music video crashed into a noir thriller. Electric guitars, explosions, heartbreak, and high-tech armor that turns these women into cybernetic warriors of the night. Yet behind the dazzling animation and synthwave soundtrack lies a deeply cynical heart. Bubblegum Crisis questions the role of corporations in society, the erosion of identity in a synthetic world, and the cost of vigilante justice. The boomers are not just monsters. They are victims of a system that views them as tools. The Nightsabers themselves are fractured people wearing literal and emotional armor. The OVA series shifts in tone from rock opera to grim police procedural, but always keeps one eye on the emotional truth. Few cyberpunk series offer this blend of entertainment and quiet despair. Bubblegum Crisis is a rebellious anthem with a damaged soul. It was ahead of its time, and the world still has not caught up. Number 1. Cyber City, Oedo, 808, 1991. Welcome to Oedo. A cyberpunk megacity so rotten, so loud, and so neon-soaked, it might as well be hell with computers. Cyber City. Oedo 808 throws you into the future where criminals are forced to become enforcers. 3 death row inmates are recruited to hunt down cyber terrorists in exchange for reduced sentences. Their collars are rigged with explosives. Their time is limited, and their missions are suicidal. Meet Sengoku, Benton, and Goggles, a swordsman, a hacker, and a brawler, each one haunted by rage, regret, and rebellion. Together, they are the dirtiest team keeping a dirtier city alive. Cyber City Oedo 808 is brutal, stylish, and endlessly quotable. Every frame pulses with the energy of a VHS fever dream. The animation is slick, the tech is gritty, and the soundtrack, especially in the UK dub edition, is pure industrial metal madness. The series balances action with existential weight. These men are not heroes. They are ghosts trapped in a system that will never free them. Their targets include AI serial killers, mutant experiments, and digital overlords, but the real villain is always the city itself. Cyber City Oedo 808 never got a full season. Just 3 perfect OVAs, each one a self-contained shot of futuristic despair, and each one screaming with untapped potential. This is the crown jewel of forgotten cyberpunk, mean fast and beautifully angry. These are not polished icons of anime fame. They are raw signals from a darker timeline, a world where cyberpunk bled on real to real. If you find them, watch them. They are blueprints of rebellion. Forgotten? Yes, but not gone. Stay tuned, because the underground never sleeps. Jack out.